Okay, this is lesson 8.2, and this is costs of owning or renting a home. In the last lesson, 8.1, you investigated, renting and owning homes, and you compared options. So let's first recall some of the costs that you encounter when owning and renting. First, when you're owning a home, the purchase of the home will include a cash down payment and then a mortgage loan, which is paid back plus interest. Owners must pay property tax, which is a percentage of the estimated value of your home. Pay that every year. Most owners buy home insurance to protect their home and its contents. Condo owners, you can own a condo, usually pay a monthly fee to cover operation, maintenance, administration, and improvement costs. Usually called like HOA fees, homeowner association fees. And owners will pay all the utilities, maintenance, repairs, and any service on the property or the home. If you're renting, the tenant uses a property owned by a landlord and will pay rent to make use of the property. Utilities and services such as heat, water, electricity, and parking sometimes are included, sometimes aren't included. And it depends on what your agreement is when renting. The landlord pays for repairs unless the damage is done by you and it's like negligent. And the tenant usually pays for phone, cable, and internet service. However, sometimes you can find that included in a rental, especially if you're going away to college. When you're looking for a place to live off campus and commuting to school, you might find some renters will include like a home phone, cable, and internet services. And then finally, the tenant may wish to buy tenant insurance or renter's insurance to protect their belongings when living in the rental unit. Now, when owning or renting a home, it's really important to come up with a budget and look at your costs and what your income is and try to balance that. And that's going to kind of be the emphasis of the next lesson, but we're going to kind of dive into some of the concepts in this lesson as well. When looking at costs, there's two types of costs. There's fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs is where the expense is typically the same amount charged at a regular interval. And we'll come up with a couple examples in a second. Variable cost is just when the expenses or cost varies and they won't follow necessarily a regular schedule. So if we're owning or renting, some fixed costs that you may encounter would be like rent or property tax, or if you have insurance, it could be home or renter's insurance. Sometimes there's a one-time payment, like property tax you can pay once. You could also pay it quarterly, which is 4 times a year. Home and renter's insurance you may pay monthly, or you might pay it all at the beginning of the year, one payment. But either way, it's a fixed cost. You can anticipate how much that's going to cost based on whatever agreement you have. Variable costs are things like utilities. So like heat and water usage will vary depending on what month of the year you're in, and you can kind of estimate maybe what you're expected to pay every month, but within each month it's usually quite different. Another variable cost would be like repairs or renovations. All right, when you're looking at fixed and variable costs and you're trying to figure out how much money you're spending as a homeowner or a renter, it's best if you can kind of try to get all of the payments you're making into common language, which means some bills you pay every month, some bills you pay bi-weekly, some bills you pay only once a year. And when you try to compare them all, it's difficult if it's not all in the same unit. So it's not all like a monthly bill or it's not all like a yearly bill. So if you have other things, what you can do is you can convert it all to either a monthly amount or you can convert it all to an annual amount. So we're going to do that here in example 2. I'm going to come up with 3 expenses, and we're going to look at how much that expense would be for the entire year so you can kind of compare that dollar figure. So first we have monthly rent. Monthly rent of $665. Well, when you have something that occurs monthly, that means every month in the year, and there are 12 months in the year. So you're going to make 12 of these rent payments, and it's $665 a piece. So if you want to figure out how much money that is for the entire year, you would have to multiply by 12. And if we do that, we come up with $7,980. That one seems pretty straightforward. The next one's a little trickier. Bi-weekly mortgage payments. So bi-weekly means every other week. And you might be thinking, okay, every other week. Well, there's 4 weeks in a month, so that's twice a month, so that's 24 times in an entire year. And that would be the wrong way of looking at bi-weekly. Because if there's exactly 4 weeks in every month, a week is 7 days, and 4 weeks times 7 would be 28. We all know there's not 28 days in every month. Some months have 30 days, some months have 31 days, so every month actually has slightly more than 4 weeks. So if you want to figure out what bi-weekly means, it does mean every other week, but there are 52 weeks in a year. So if you're paying every other week, that would be half of those times, which is 26. So it was times 12 for monthly, times by 26 for biweekly. So a biweekly mortgage payment of $856.21, we would be paying that $856.21 26 times in a year. And if we work that math out, that's $22,261.46. It's a lot of money in a mortgage. So here you can kind of already see maybe the difference between how much money you're putting out if you rent and how much money you might be putting out if you own in a year. $7,900 versus $22,261. The biggest difference is you own this home that you're mortgaging. C, semi-annual home insurance payments. Semi-annual means that it occurs 2 times annually. Annual means years. So this is a twice a year payment. So home insurance is $546.75, and we're paying it twice. If we multiply that by 2, we get $1,093.50. So now you can kind of try to look at all of these under the same unit so they can make a little bit more sense when you compare them. All right, let's flip it over. Let's compare 2 rental properties. Sarah will be moving to Sarnia to attend Lambton College. She has 2 options. Option 1 is a 1-bedroom apartment within walking distance from the college. Her rent would be $625 a month, which includes heat, electricity, water, and parking. But you must sign a 1-year lease. Option 2, college residence. Share a room and a washroom with another student. The room includes a bed, a desk, shelves, small fridge, microwave, cable service but no TV, and a local telephone. Shared kitchen is available, and the cost is $6,800 for September to April, including utilities and an $1,800 meal card. So the first thing we would want to compare is how much it's going to cost to actually rent these 2 options. So what's the annual rent of the apartment, and is it more or less expensive than residence? Well, let's take a look. In option 1, you're paying for this apartment for the entire year. So you're doing the $625 every month for 12 months. And that would be $7,500. But again, 12 months. In option 2, it costs $6,800, but $1,800 of that is a meal card. So that's not really how much it costs to live in residence. If we subtract those, we get $5,000, but it's only for 8 months, September to April. So May, June, July, and August, you don't have a place to live, but you're also not stuck necessarily living in Sarnia if you don't want to. So in your first year at college, are you staying in Sarnia for the entire year? That might factor in, because if you are, the apartment might be looking kind of good considering you get it for the 12 months. Versus residence, after your 8 months are up, you have to find a new place to live unless you're going to move home. B, what additional expenses might Sarah have in setting up the apartment that she would not have in a residence room? Well, if you choose the apartment option, you need furniture. Now, you might be able to bring some from home, you might have to go shopping, but you need furniture. The apartment does not come furnished. You also need cable and internet. I guess you don't need cable, but you definitely need internet. Food is another thing you'll need if you're living in your apartment. The $1,800 meal card, we're not sure how far that'll go in your 8 months living in residence, but you don't get anything in the apartment. It doesn't come with a stocked fridge that gets replenished. Also, you would need school parking. Unless you don't have a vehicle, then you would need bus pass, which sometimes is included in your tuition. C, what if any benefits might there be to living in an apartment versus living in a residence? Well, if you're living in the apartment, you definitely have privacy because you are the only one there. You also have parking. If you're living in residence and you have a vehicle, you'll need to pay for a school parking pass. In the apartment, you also get your own kitchen, which is a big one, and you get your own bathroom. D is kind of personal preference. Which option would you recommend? Justify your answer. Now, if you were asked this on a test, you would just have to pick an option and then justify it. So let's pretend we're going to pick option 1. Doesn't matter, you can choose option 2. Personally, in my first year at university, I chose to live in residence. But let's choose option 1. Why might you choose the apartment? Well, you don't have to share a kitchen or bathroom. You can pick your own furniture. You also have some independence. And the last example in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we will convert to a monthly cost. And this is going to be important because in the next lesson, we're going to develop a monthly budget. This is more typical of budget design. So we're going to look at some costs of housing, and we're going to convert them all to monthly. Some of them are already monthly, like monthly house insurance. So for our total monthly house insurance, $85. Monthly gas and hydro bill, $177. And finally, monthly internet and cable bill is $110. The ones that don't come monthly are your mortgage, your property tax, and your water and sewer bill. Let's start with mortgage. Mortgage is bi-weekly and it's $771. Now, if you want to get it monthly, bi-weekly means every 2 weeks. And you might be thinking, well, if it's every 2 weeks, I just have to multiply it by 2 to get a month. And again, we'd fall up short because, as we discussed earlier, there's more than 4 weeks in a month. There's actually a few extra days. So if you want to get it to monthly, first you have to convert it to a yearly amount and then divide by 12. So let's start with biweekly. Biweekly is 26 times a year. So if we want to get the right answer, 771 times 26, and then we divide by 12. That will give us our monthly. So times by 26 gets us to 1 year, and then divide by 12 gets us to a month. It's really important that you get to a year and then divide to a month. 771 times 26, that gives us a year. Divide by 12. We get 1,670 and 50 cents. And what if you did it the wrong way? Well, the wrong way would say, since that's every 2 weeks, if we want every 4 weeks for a month, we would do 771 times 2, which is 1542. And we would be off budget by $128.50, which would be bad. Property tax. Annual property tax. That's great because we've already got it to a yearly amount. So we just have to divide by 12. And if I do that, I get $299. So let's add those two to our total monthly. 1,670.5 and $299. Now last one's kind of neat because you can do this one a couple ways. Water and sewer quarterly means every 3 months or 4 times a year. And it's $75. One way to do this would be to multiply by 4 to get a yearly amount and then divide by 12. And if we do that, we get 25. Another way to do it is to say, hey, if that's how much I'm paying for 3 months, I would just have to divide that by 3, which would also give you 25. So sometimes taking the shortcut works, but we have to understand it's the ones that involve weekly when you're converting to monthly that don't necessarily work. Anything in terms of months works. Like quarterly is every 3 months, so that one's going to work to go directly to monthly. All right, water and sewer is $25, and now we have all of our monthly costs. So if we want a total, we would just add them all up, and if you add all those up, you can check my math if you want, $2,366.50. And now we're on our way to being able to design a budget, which is our next lesson. Okay, so thanks for watching lesson 8.2, costs of owning and renting a home. I'll see you next time where we design a budget.